To anybody in Vancouver going out there and worrying if I'm jumping on the bandwagon, sorry, that is not the case here. I'm just kind of watching hockey games, and I'm going out there and wanting to talk about things that I notice and stories that I think are worth telling. And believe me, I didn't think I'd be talking about this. I really didn't. I didn't think I'd be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs and going over how good they actually are in a series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I had the Lightning going to the finals again. I said last year they were going to win the cup and double it, and they did. So this time around, I was like, yeah, they're going to do it again. They're going to make the finals for a third straight time, lose to Calgary because Calgary is good, and they're going to beat Toronto in the first round, right? I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. Now, I'm not really the smartest guy out there. I've said this a few times. I can't really articulate the ins and outs of a game and highlight specific plays and what Sheldon Keefe does, which makes him successful, like a Steve Dangle can or whatever. But, I can watch the playoff games, I can follow the stories, and I can respond emotionally to what's going on out there. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the same emotions that we saw, or that we felt, I guess you could say, from the previous few years, I just don't really sense any of that. It's like if I took that Ghostbusters radioactive paranormal detector thing and I started scanning it around the room, I wouldn't find traces of any of those emotions that Leafs fans have felt over the past few years when they have had leads and when they've blown leads. Yesterday, Toronto played the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 3 of their best-of-7 series, and they won 5-2. Pretty good score right there. In fact, 5-2 is a little bit misleading because you hear that and you think, oh wow, they won by 3 goals. What a crazy good game. Toronto dominated, right? Because if you win by 3, it means that you actually did something well. That's not really accurate. It was 3-2 for most of the third period, and then it was 5-2 after 2 quick empty net goals from Ilya Mikheyev. But as Sheldon Keefe did in Game 1 against Tampa Bay, he went out there and he coached a pretty good game. The guys didn't go out there and fall into Tampa's physical traps. You saw the timeout that he took after the 3-2 goal. You saw the lines and the way that he was matching them up. Sheldon Keefe actually has been doing a pretty good job this entire series. And I know it's been 3 games. You can't go out there and conclude things off of 3 games, I feel. But still, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 2 wins away from winning a playoff series for the first time in 2 decades almost. And it's against freaking Tampa. You know what I really liked as well about this game? The fact that you had a supporting cast that came out here and did its job. John Tavares went out there with a negative faceoff rating. You saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining about Tavares and saying, oh, the guy doesn't do too much. Where is he? He's an $11 million player. What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing? You saw Matthews and Marner. These guys didn't score. Matthews had some chances. He had some good opportunities, but he didn't bury one. Mitch Marner fell in the neutral zone in, I believe it was the second period, while the team was trying to go forward with a transition, and that resulted in an odd man rush against, and it didn't work out well for Toronto, but Jack Campbell made the save. Jack Campbell was the biggest name that stood out to me yesterday night, because this guy just absolutely made key saves when he needed to. Sure, he led into a Ross Colton one-timer blast from the Kucherov spot, and then Andre Palat on the Ovechkin spot, I guess, taking a shot that goes right through. But Jack Campbell made some really big saves when you needed to see him make really big saves, especially towards the end there. The Stamkos one-timer on the Ovechkin spot, stopped by Campbell. The in-tight chances that Tampa was throwing over onto Campbell. One of them was a chance where Jake Muzzin ended up playing it off of Campbell, which resulted in the empty net goal. Jack Campbell came to play. You got goal support from David Kampf again, so really good for him. Morgan Rielly got himself a goal, and of course you have the 2 Ilya Mikheyev empty net goals right there. Toronto is just a deep enough team that we're starting to see what happens when Kyle Dubas's vision comes to fruition. Sheldon Keefe went out there and played these guys pretty equally, and you saw just the well-oiled machine going to work, making sure they didn't take any penalties, capitalizing on their power plays, and doing some really good things shorthanded too. My goodness, the special teams coaching in Toronto It's been pretty special, man. Like, you take a look, obviously the deadly power play they have, it's been noted by everybody the past few months. But on the PK, actively killing time in the Tampa Bay zone, catching everybody off guard, catching Andrei Vasilevskiy off guard. He's trying to play the puck to the side, but Mitch Marner is right there stealing it and getting a grade A chance in tight. Toronto is just doing everything right, and I get it. Their third period yesterday was not the best, where you had the Tampa Bay Lightning controlling the play at the start. It leads to a goal. You had a whole bunch more zone time for Tampa. But what's important is that Toronto went out there and they held it down. Jack Campbell made the saves he needed to make. We didn't see this last year against Montreal. Sure, they had a 3-1 series lead, but Montreal was still able to come back and do what it was that they did. Now, I'm making this video probably prematurely. I'll say that. Every video that we've made for the playoffs has been somewhat premature to an extent because, hey, that first video we talked about with Philippe Deneau shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl isn't really all too valid anymore. But this series right here, I'm starting to really think that Toronto might be able to go far here. In fact, it might even be appropriate to say that the winner of this Tampa-Toronto series might even go to the gosh darn finals. Because, okay, look, Florida, I didn't expect Washington to come out and beat Florida in Game 1. I didn't expect that series to be as tight as it is now. I know Florida smoked Washington in Game 2, and the Caps right now with their goaltending are not in the most, let's say, projectable position to win. But this Toronto-Tampa series, if Tampa comes back and they win 3 games out of the next 4, because they need to do that to come back and win this series. I still, when Tampa is on, they are just so good, and it's been 2 long years of playoff runs and playoff success that Sheldon Keefe has had to analyze and review and go over and say, okay, look, in X series against Montreal in 2022, in 2021, they did this. In the series against the other team in 2020, they did this. They had 2 Islander series where Barry Trotz tried to play a defensive style and it didn't work because this. Sheldon Keefe has had a lot of homework and he's been studying up really well because now the Toronto Maple Leafs have to win 2 out of the next 4 games. They have to go 500 against Tampa. They've been trading wins back and forth, even going back to the regular season. Tampa-Toronto, Tampa-Toronto, Tampa-Toronto. And now, where it really matters, Toronto has that 2-1 lead. So, I don't know, I felt like that was a video I had to make, mostly because I know a lot of people went out there and trashed me for my playoff bracket, which happens all the time because you're never going to please the fan bases of all 32 NHL teams, or 16 NHL teams in the playoffs when you make a playoff predictions video, but I did say it in the video that I did think that Toronto was going to succumb to their demons once again, and Tampa, just being Tampa, would go out there and take advantage of that. I thought Tampa would be able to beat Florida in the second round, and Carolina in the third round, and I thought that they'd make the finals and lose, but I don't know. I haven't seen Tampa be this vulnerable. I haven't seen Vasilevskiy be this shaky. I love Vasilevskiy as much as the next guy. I don't think anybody dislikes Andrei Vasilevskiy, but yesterday's game, some of these goals, the positioning was just a tad off. You saw David Kampf just come right in there and snipe one far side. Sure, there was a screen from Bogosian and it went right through his legs, but the Andrei Vasilevskiy I know and I'm used to makes that save. He makes a lot of saves. He's made a ton of saves over the past 2 years, or 3 years now, including 2020, and there's a reason why his playoff statistics the past few years have been sub 2 goals against. They said this on the broadcast, but every time the Maple Leafs score more than 2 on Andrei Vasilevskiy, that is a statistical anomaly, because he just doesn't have those games often enough for it to be a factor. But they've been doing it. Toronto's been capitalizing on their power plays. They've been line matching well. They've been taking their timeouts when they needed to. The timeout in the third period when Andre Palat scored to make it 3-2 with still 14, 15, 16 minutes left. I thought that was a really good decision and it worked. Now, of course, that's hindsight because, if they didn't score after or if the Maple Leafs blew the game, you would have said it didn't work. But it did work here. They have the 2-1 series lead. What more could you say? So, let me know in the comments all your thoughts about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do you believe in this team? Is it time to believe? Is it time to believe? I don't know if I could say that. That's a Nick Barden thing, isn't it? But either way, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a 2-1 series lead against Tampa. They have to win 2 out of the next 4 games against the Lightning, which if the pattern of win-loss, win-loss, win-loss against Tampa Bay continues, they're going to have no problems doing that. But of course, Tampa is Tampa, and all they need is a wake-up call. All they need is Kucherov and Hedman to start shooting the puck more and not going through the first 40 minutes of games without shots. All they need is Steven Stamkos to bury one of those one-timers. All they need is Brayden Point to come out here and make one of his significant plays. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Tampa-Toronto so far up to Game 3. I hope you enjoyed this Trolls 99. And bye.